Hello everyone, John here from Gaming in the Wild, and I've got a new game review video for you today. It is one of the big indie games of 2025 so far. It is a game that I was really looking forward to, and I'm really happy to have gotten my hands on finally. It is, of course, the third game from Okomotive, Herdling. If you've seen this game in motion, you will no doubt know that it is a very lyrical, wistful-looking game with a wonderful art style, with gorgeous music from Joel Schock that we'll be hearing throughout this review. And this review is taken from the Gaming in the Wild podcast. If you would like to hear more from me than you get on the channel usually, there is a weekly podcast. It's usually about half an hour or an hour long. You can find it on my YouTube homepage on the podcast tab. On the full episode, I also talk about Hollow Knight, which I am replaying in anticipation of Silksong. So if you'd like some Hollow Knight chat, you know where to look. As always, if you enjoy this review, your likes mean a lot because they help other people find the videos. You can subscribe to this channel for more reviews like this in your feed, and there is some more to watch in the description if you'd like to hear about Promise Mascot Agency or Claire Obscure or Wheel World. I do regular reviews on the channel and you're welcome to watch them all. This channel also does have a Patreon where you can support this channel, join the Patreon-only Discord, get bonus material about how I make videos and things like that. That's patreon.com/gaminginthewild. And with all of that out of the way, let's get into it and talk about Herdling. So Herdling is the third game by Okomotive, a 12-person studio out in Zurich, Switzerland. It's a pretty young team. This game was published by Panic. It has a 50-track orchestral woodwind-centric soundtrack by the wonderful Joel Schock. It is another remarkable atmospheric piece of work that we're listening to right now. It came out on PlayStation 5, Switch, PC and Xbox. I played it on PS5. Performance was okay. There were some noticeable frame drops in late game areas, but it didn't affect my playthrough too much. It didn't affect the critic reviews. This has an OpenCritic 80. I will note that it has 68 on Switch, with reviewers citing significant technical issues on the poor old Switch. I think that it maybe has a few glitches here and there on all platforms, but it is a small team indie game, so bear that in mind. The highest review was 90 from GameSpot, who said, "It's a heartwarming joy to get to know each of the calicorns that I found on my journey to the mountains." One of the lows came from Eurogamer Germany, who said it's a charming adventure that's a little bit too similar to Journey and somewhat lacking in depth, but unique in how it has you herding fantastical beasts on a wordless trip to the mountains. So even the bad reviews are praising the charm of this game. The developer describes this one by saying, "Head out on a grand alpine expedition with a herd of lovable beasts as you ascend a mountain path. Encounter eerie dangers and surprising obstacles and forge your way to the mystery at the summit." I have to say about this one in my little capsule review, the Okomotive's third game delivers another vibey journey through a forlorn world. The shepherding gameplay is alternately fun, clumsy, endearing, and frustrating, but overall, it's a 3-hour journey that is a must for indie game fans in 2025. So I am a big fan of Okomotive, and I am a big fan of Herdling, a big fan of the Far games, but I am going to take a clear-eyed look at this game. And the game begins when you wake up as a red-hooded kid in an underpass in a bleak midnight city. And unlike the Far games, this world does show signs of life. We hear the odd car rumbling over the overpass, we see blinds being pulled shut in the buildings that are clearly occupied, and it made me wonder if this game might be a prequel to the Far games, in which the world seems much further into climate catastrophe and breakdown. But as we venture into the streets, we find our first calicorn. A calicorn is a large, shaggy, woolly creature, and we find one rampaging around a public square, having bashed over a car with the alarm going off. It has a bucket stuck on its head, and our first puzzle of the game is to find a stick that is thrown down from a tree. When the calicorn runs into it, we prise the bucket off of its head. It is very grateful for this, we pet it, becomes less nervous, and it becomes the first member of our herd. And this is a game about shepherding these strange calicorns, and the shepherding gameplay is interesting because you have to stand directly behind a calicorn to direct it. You ring a little bell on your stick and the calicorn will run directly away from you as soon as you hit that button. So you really do have to be standing directly behind the calicorn for it to head in the right direction. And I played the demo of this game at the London Games Festival back in the spring, and this was very unintuitive. I remember running alongside the herd ringing the bell and wondering why they just scattered. They went in the wrong direction. They were running into walls. They were going backwards. And I was really, really frustrated. But in the final version of the game, I was really pleased to see that this has been addressed. At the start of the game, there is a white glowing line that goes from your staff to the Calicorn and into the distance, so you can see which direction it will run in when you ring that bell. It's a visualizer for the direction of travel, and Okamotive must have clocked that potential problem of people not understanding the control scheme, and they've fixed it. And I think this edition is perfect. It really helps you to grok the control scheme. It made the opening of the game much smoother, and that line vanishes after the intro to keep visual clutter to a minimum, so it's just there when you need it, and it does the job perfectly. With one Calicorn by our side, we wander the streets. We find a couple more small ones tucked away in back alleys, living in boxes. We can stroke them, we can feed them, and then we can tame them, and they join the herd. We're taught how to use our Calicorns to help us push open gates, so there are going to be puzzles in this game. We're taught that the Calicorns can make magic murals appear if they congregate in the right spot. The first mural shows a giant glowing mountaintop with statues on top of it. That will be our goal throughout the game, journey style. And with 3 cute Calicorns in tow, the dawn starts to break over the city. We leave the city into a bright morning sunrise. We see the mountaintop in the distance, and we're set loose to stampede across the fields. And this is a really important moment in the vibe of the game and setting the expectations, what this game is going to be. After the city streets that are dark and claustrophobic, we do get to run out and go wild, and that's something that I really liked about the Far games. You spend a lot of time in those games doing busy work, putting out fires, fueling your engine, and so forth. But sometimes you get these moments of satisfaction and peace when everything is working, when nothing is on fire, and you loft the sails and you just sit back for a moment, taking it all in. And Stampeding is that moment in Herdling, because after puzzles in tight spaces and assembling the herd and feeding them and so forth, you get to run free, and it's just so satisfying. And Calicorn only stampede for about 5 seconds or so when you give the command, and they have a finite amount of energy for instigating stampedes, but you can recharge this energy by running over flowers that you see on the fields. And I think it's a really nice touch in the game that the colours of those flowers that you cross will appear in the fur of the Calicorns like vaporwave tint streaks, so your herd of weirdo mammoths have a prismatic colour scheme that changes throughout the game. Very, very cool, and this game is full of nice touches like that, I think. You can also find Calicorn decorations along the way. You can find harnesses that will wrap around their horns. You can find feathers and beads to hang on them that help forge that connection that you feel with them. And you will also happen upon Calicorn statues at various points. The story is very light touch in this game, I would say, but it does seem as though Calicorn herding is something that others have done over time, that Calicorn are almost sacred, and that you are, for whatever reason, following in the footsteps of Calicorn shepherds that have come before. But your journey does have moments of respite and punctuation too, such as campfires, because after some galloping across the fields, after doing some puzzling, pushing crates, opening the way forward, etc., you will arrive at a campfire site. This is a place where you can gather wood to light the fire, and you also have to tend to the herd. This is one of the cutest things about herdling, I think. Some Calicorn might sit by the fire waiting for you to light it, but others don't. Others will follow you around because they need a little bit of petting before they're ready to settle. Some might have twigs in their fur if they've run through bushes and so forth that you can pull out to clean them. Others might linger next to a ball that they want you to throw so they can fetch it, or be lurking next to a berry bush because they're hungry and waiting for you to feed them. And I really enjoyed these before bed moments. It helped me to bond with the Calicorns. And I like that if you tend to them all in good time, they will gather by the fire like a little congregation until it's time for you to finally spark that fire up, find your rug, and then sleep for the night. And after you've found your way out of the city and run across the open fields, you find yourself in a rail shed, and then after that, a forest. There is also a mountain area and a glacier. So you have this evolving topography different things, different challenges that go with each area, like finding your way over rivers and through the trees, or navigating the cracking ice of the glacier, or the narrow pathways of the mountains. And each section has different challenges, like slippery or fragile ground. So there are hazards, basically, and if a herdling stands on breaking ground, it slips, but you do have a moment to grab it before it falls off the edge and pull it back up. And this introduces the idea that herdlings are kind of vulnerable. They're kind of your charges. You have to look after them. And if you're not careful, you can lose them. There is also an antagonist in this game. This is the long-clawed giant birds, like evil owls, that lurk in the trees in some sections. There are owl totems scattered around the ground in these sections, and you have to navigate the herd through using the slow walk control without knocking over these totems, or the birds will attack. Your herdlings can be wounded when their fur turns blood red, and if they are attacked again when they're already wounded, they will die. You can feed them berries after that section, and they will recover, but I did lose 2 herdlings in my playthrough, and I think that leads to my only big criticism of the game. Usually when you're in these bird sections, you get through them okay, you can see that it's a stealth area, you take it slow, you see the bird on its roost, you know that if you knock over 3, it will come for you, and that once you get through, that you'll be safe. So you can almost work your way through it and then just stampede when you're close to the exit to make a break for it to try and get out before the bird has time to attack. But there is one extended stealth section where you're creeping through a bunch of bird areas where that was not the case. They changed it up. I did my usual routine of sneaking until I'd knocked over a couple and then just charging for the exit to break through and break free. But I emerged into an area where 4 birds were circling, ready to attack. It was a puzzle, a time-sensitive puzzle, and by the time I had managed to orientate myself within what was happening, it was too late. I had lost 2 herdlings. You have to push over a statue or something like that to scare the birds away, but 2 of my herdlings were dead, and it felt unfair in video game terms, like there had been some gameplay confusion at a critical moment, and it led to me losing some of my herd, and that really bummed me out, and it felt like a design problem, I think. But your deceased calicorn do appear as ghosts from time to time. They will guide you to collectibles, or they will appear at the campfire at night, which is really cute and also really sad. But I still think that not losing any calicorns is the optimal way to play this game. I've spoken to friends who got through it without losing calicorns, but to me at least, that was a pretty rough way for them to go. But of course the journey continues regardless, and I won't spoil any of the further travails that you have to overcome to finish the game, but for me there was a really nice mixture of open areas where you get to run around a bit, and tight maze-like zones where it's a bit more tense and careful. But as we pass through area after area, from the fields to the trees to the open plains again, we do see that all-important mountain getting closer and closer as we pass each region. And there is a nice feeling of progressing over a long distance. I think that's really well handled. It's a successful illusion, given the small linear levels that we're actually making progress over a big landscape. And I was very happy with how the game resolved. I really enjoyed the journey. I played it in a single sitting, and I never looked away from the screen. I found it engrossing, I found it compelling. And like the Far games, there is a little bit of jank and awkwardness along the way. You know, these are small team, low budget games, and from the look of the crew page on the Okomotive website, they are quite a young team. I think that all of their games are a little bit lo-fi, but that they thrive in certain ways that other games just really struggle with. They thrive when it comes to mood, and atmosphere. The music is, once again, gorgeous in this game. It's a lovely woodwind symphony. The visuals are lovely with changing light and atmosphere. And I love the evolving landscape, giving the feeling of a journey through a strange land. I had a little hope that the ending of this game might connect it to the other games. Maybe it did, but if so, I missed it. Even so, I think this was just a really lovely little game, and it's a firm recommend from me. So just to round things out, after this little musical break, I will run through the good things and the bad things about the game, and then come to my conclusion. So I think you have to start by saying that the Herdlings themselves, the core of the game, the name of the game, the key art of the game, and the main focus of everything, They are just adorable. There are large ones and there are small ones. Each one you meet has different horns, different fur, different colours. They make different sounds, like some of them squeal, some of them grunt. And they have different personality types, like you'll find brave calicorn are big and will try and fight off the birds. You will find rascals that always seem to be running off, eating food or getting twigs stuck in their fur. And it was really nice that they had personalities. You get to name them as well, which I think is really cool. And it was just really fun to run with them, to clean them, to pet them, to name them. The Herdlings were, they had to be cool for this game to work, and they just are. Also, the length of the game, I think 4 hours, 3, 4, 5, depending on how you play, was really good for me. It didn't outstay its welcome. I was happy when the credits came. I felt like I'd seen what I needed to see. And there were no points along the way where I felt like I wished that it was, moving on a little quicker. It was a really, really good length. The art style is a big plus. It's clean and minimal. It draws the eye effectively when it needs to. It is evocative. The changing weather was really beautiful. And the soundtrack really helps things along. It has excellent instrumentals from Joel Schock. It's atmospheric and brooding when it needs to be. It's lyrical when it needs to be. And it swells in tempo and sound when the herd cuts loose and gallops across the field. It's subtle, melodic, just a wonderful soundtrack. And I think that this game just does a wonderful job at having a simple idea and executing on that idea really well. It's a game where you're going to herd and shepherd some wild beasts across a hazardous mountain, and it really gives you that experience. At the end of it, I really felt like I'd been through that journey, As for the bad things, there is a little list here. The performance, there are some startling frame drops. There are some persistent frame drops in certain areas, even on the PS5. And this game isn't doing anything too visually demanding. Certainly nothing that a PS5 shouldn't be able to handle. So I'd say that some of that is down to optimization, and the game could definitely use work there. That Switch version sounds like a real nightmare. And the PS5 version should be smooth, but it isn't quite. There were a couple of bugs as well. There is a scene in the early game where there is a torrential downpour with rain flowing off of roofs and the sound of rain hitting the floor. But there's no rain. You don't see any rain in the air. So you're listening to the sound of a storm, and there's not a storm, or like a half storm on the screen. A pretty nasty bug there because it is an atmospheric early section. The Herdlings behave jankily at times. If they hit an obstacle, there's just no telling what they will do. They can pretty much go haywire, which can be frustrating. And I would say that your character cannot run when they are not with the herd. You can park the herd, so to speak, by double pressing the circle button. But if you want to go and investigate something, you have a very slow run speed without the herd. And sometimes you do need to go alone. So that to me seemed like an oversight. It would have been really nice if the character could run when they are alone. It would have just made it a bit more nippy. And finally, the stealth sections, and inverted commas on one in particular, they are mercifully short, but that climactic mid-game one was just confusing as hell. I lost 2 herdlings, and it was down to not knowing what to do, not being able to read the game, rather than me fucking up, per se. So I was a little bummed out about that as well. But overall, I think this is a wonderful game. As I was saying before, I think it's a lovely Okomotive game. I'm just a big fan of their work. I love what they do. They make simple games, or deceptively simple games, that stand alongside things like, Journey, like the Giant Squid games. They're like the kid brother of those games. They're a little more rough around the edges, a little more primitive in some ways, but they have the same ambitions to be beautiful, to give you a simple, impactful, emotional experience. And I think that Herdling did that. It is a worthy addition to the Far series and a wonderful win for Okomotive. So there you have it, that is the review of Herdling. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give the video a like. You can sub to the channel for more like this, and there is of course that Patreon if you would like to get extra stuff from me. There is some good stuff on there, man. If you're at all interested in YouTubing, how YouTubing works, like adapting scripts, how to edit smoothly, how to incorporate music into YouTube videos, there is lots of content creation stuff there. There is, of course, the bonus podcast episodes about things like me traveling out to Tokyo and going to Akihabara, going to the London Games Festival and getting to play hands-on with games, including Herdling, far before they released. I interviewed the organizer of that festival as well, and it's going to be even bigger next year. So if you do want more stuff from me and to hear about things that aren't on the channel, check out patreon.com/gaminginthewild. You will get a Discord invite as well. And a huge thank you to my boss tier patrons, Keris, Shy Guy, and King Champ. Thank you for supporting this channel, it means a lot. And until the next one, take care of yourselves and each other, and bye-bye for now.